All right, well, my name is Judd Campbell, and I was born and raised right here in southwest Georgia, a little town called Pebble City. Well, I started when I was 8, working diving for Moss Farms. It was still the little pool that was over by Moose Moss's house. The most dramatic thing is, I think the third day that I was diving, I did a back dive and hit the board, busted my head open. So I got to go to the ER with Moose, which is an experience not everybody got to have. And I just remember as they were stitching my head up, he was telling me to point my toes, and I thought he was crazy, but he was just trying to distract me. But the interesting thing, I look back and I can't believe my parents let me keep do it, but the beginning of my career was dry land and trampoline work and learning a lot of the fundamentals just because of this sort of dramatic thing. But I wanted to do it, and they helped me do that. So, well, my first coach was Moose, who obviously was a legend. He definitely taught us the value of discipline. His saying was, we may not be able to beat you, but we're going to be better conditioned than you are. And so I learned to do things right, to make corrections. The thing I remember Moose telling me the most is, diving's a strange sport in that it has judges, and they are looking at you and they're affecting, how they feel about your dive affects how you perform. And Moose used to tell me, Judd, you got to be so good they can't take it away from you. And so that's something I feel like translates to the rest of life. You have to not just be good, but be better than that. And I think that was pretty impactful for me at a very young age, something that's definitely helped me as I've moved on. After Moose, Jay LaRue was my coach, coached at Moss Farms. Jay was a freestyle skier, a stunt double, and he brought that, just grip it and rip it, like sort of freestyle sport excitement to things. I see a lot of the Red Bull stuff nowadays, just get up there and go for it, and that's what Jay was all about. And I think that at that age, I think Jay came in, I was around 12 or 13. That's exactly what a 12 or 13-year-old boy wants to hear. Is like, let's go, let's add a flip, let's add a twist, let's just see what happens. So that was a really sort of a good fit at the time. After Jay, Wimbo Chen was my coach, and Wimbo brought, that it's just the absolute precision that the Chinese divers were always known for. He had grown up in China as a diver, and he brought all that. So bringing precision to my diving, and just I can't say enough about what a crazy experience was to have this Chinese guy that all of a sudden is making me better day by day in small incremental ways. Yeah, I grew up obviously here in Georgia, which means I grew up a Georgia football fan. So, but I always thought I'd go somewhere else for college. Just you'd seen a lot of the country doing diving, and but when I started doing recruiting visits, I just remember having a clicking at Georgia. I remember going to a meet at Georgia, shortly after I'd done my recruiting visit, and we ran into a couple of guys from the swim team when we were out, and just talking to those guys, one of my Moss Farms teammates was like, "Future teammates, huh?" It was just obvious that I clicked with that. Georgia just had put in a brand new pool. It was state of the art. And then the coach was Dan Lack. And I can't say enough about Dan and his ability. Not only as a coach, he's a great diving coach, but aside from that, Dan had a knack at dealing with people that are on their own for the first time. If I wanted to eat ice cream, I could go buy as much ice cream as I want. Waffles at 2 in the morning, totally fine. No one can stop me. And Dan had a way of working with people that are in that stage of life. I mean, I never missed a practice, I never missed a party, but Dan was there to help, steer me along. And my diving got better under him. He was a great diving coach, but more than that, he was that adult figure that I could lean on while I was on my own. And I can't say enough about him. He's a great guy. So right now I'm a homicide lieutenant. I work for San Diego Police, live out there. So I run the homicide unit with a partner lieutenant. That includes our cold case unit, missing persons, and then 6 active homicide teams. So whenever there's someone murdered in San Diego, I go to it. I think that a lot of diving and a lot of You know, like I talked about earlier, like there's so much work that goes on before you actually perform, and police work actually has a really good parallel in that it's these moments of excitement and exhilaration, and then a whole lot of dead time in between. And you have to learn how to use that dead time to get better or to accomplish things, which is the same thing as diving. I definitely think that, you know, the attention to constant improvement has helped me in my career and helped me get to where I am. So I grew up here on this farm. You can see it kind of behind me, cotton and peanuts. I was homeschooled until the 7th grade. So my heroes growing up were, you know, Robin Hood, were Batman, you know, maybe with my size a little bit of Napoleon. But you know, we had 3 channels growing up, and there wasn't a lot to do. And diving was a good outlet for me as far as something to do. But that's who I had growing up then. You know, it was my family, and then it was going to diving. As I've grown up, I think that the thing that I've developed most, which probably comes out of my career now, is everybody's got their own struggle, and I admire anyone that's fighting their way through their struggles. That's what I admire. I admire seeing people that are dealing with adversity and overcoming it. It's not about, you know, someone who's famous or someone who's got a lot of money or anything like that. It's everybody.